Citigroup and Morgan Stanley have opened the window on the wizardry of valuing companies. The two of them are trying to figure out how much their joint venture and wealth management is worth. They're miles apart. Anthony, what exactly, how could these two guys get so far apart on valuation?
Well, it is a bit bizarre, isn't it, since they have a roughly equal stake. Morgan Stanley has 51% of it. So they both get a great look at what the business is doing and how well or poorly it's performing. And it's not the best business the last couple of years, this wealth management business. 12% pre-tax margins, almost half of what Bank of America.
And Morgan Stanley is in the process. They want to buy it. They're going to slowly buy up the rest of it.
They buy like 14% this year, another next year, and then a bit more the year
So this
after.
next stake is sort of right now what they're arguing over.
Yeah, exactly. And they've just both submitted their bids or their fair market valuations, which are meant to be what this company would be worth if it were a public company today, right, which is a bit tricky anyway because they have about 10 billion of debt on it as well. So it's a pretty heavily.
But here's the thing with this. You pointed this out, that of course Citi has a reason to want a higher valuation, and they're saying it's worth.
They're the seller.
The whole business is worth 22 billion or more. They're the seller. They want a high price. They haven't really written down their carrying value of this investment either. Morgan Stanley, they want they obviously they're the buyer. They want a lower price, and they have written it down. But which is fine. So they both have reasons, or they both have a logic sort of internally for where they're valuing this. The problem I have with it, or the thing that it casts light on for me, is that their advisors, their in-house M&A guys in both cases, have been able to say, yeah, that's a good value and a good value.
I mean, to put it in perspective, the valuation difference between them is 13.5 billion.
Out of 22.
Out of a 22, right. Well, so one's saying 22, one's saying 9.
Exactly. So one of them actually valuing it at less than the difference between the two of them, which is quite some feat. Now, of course, Citi's big issue is that, as Richard was saying, they've still got it pretty much marked where it was valued when this thing was first entered into 3 years ago. And
but that's the thing. The M&A guys should be saying, if there's lots of smoke and mirrors and tactics in M&A, fine. But valuation is supposed to be the more scientific part of it.
Yeah.
The people doing the valuation should be able to say, yeah, Citi, yours is too high.
As you say, it's what these guys do for a living. M&A advice is,
But actually, the even more bizarre thing about it is when they structured this, they put in this agreement that if they came 10% or more apart on valuation, they get in an outsider to help them, which is embarrassing in itself, right? For two guys who are meant to be really good at M&A to get in a third party to do it. But also, it was structured in a way that they split it up into thirds. So if it was in the middle third that the independent arbitrator came up with, that would be the price that they would go for. If it was in the top third or the bottom third, then they would sort of jigger around with it.
But they're just so far apart. They've just almost willingly outsourced.
Yeah, but the thing is that the whole point of this sort of three-thirds structure was to try and make sure that they got a bit closer rather than getting really, really wild.
Unfortunately, all that we seem to get out of this is that your M&A advisor will tell you whatever value you wanted in the first place.
Exactly.
Right?
On that happy thought, we'll leave it there, and we'll be back with more Breaking Views on Monday.